In the Mawanga community of Nakuru, Kenya, something truly terrifying was happening. A gang of 6 young men were on a rampage, but they weren't just committing crimes. They were unleashing a kind of brutality that was so extreme, it seemed like they were actually enjoying the pain they inflicted. This is the story of their sadistic spree.
You can only imagine the shockwaves this sent through the community. And of course, the biggest question on everyone's mind was a simple one. Who on earth was capable of doing this?
And the answer, well, it came down to these 6 first names. Just 6 young men who, by day, were working regular construction jobs. But by night, as everyone would tragically find out, they were terrorizing an entire community.
So how did this all come apart? The entire case started to unravel with the capture of just one person, the gang's self-confessed leader.
This is him, Evans Michori Kebwaro. He was only 24 years old when he was arrested at the end of June 2022. And his capture, and really more importantly, his confession, that was the key that unlocked this whole horrific mystery.
So how does someone get to this point? Well, his path started from a humble background. He actually had to drop out of school because of money troubles. From there, it quickly spiraled into petty crime, which forced him to flee his hometown and head to Nakuru. After he lost his security job, he started working full-time at construction sites, and that's where he met the 5 men who would become his crew.
And, this wasn't just some random group of guys who decided to team up. No, they were part of something much bigger, a notorious criminal organization known as the Confirm Gang. This group started out with phone scams, but eventually devolved into much, much more violent crimes, creating the perfect breeding ground for a crew like Evans to form and operate.
Okay, so with that background, let's turn to the crimes themselves, to the terrifying spree that really gripped Nakuru in June of 2022.
In just a few short weeks, they targeted and murdered at least 3 women. There was 21-year-old Grace Kariuki, 36-year-old Susan Wambu-Nginge, a mother whose 3-year-old son was miraculously rescued from the fire, they said, and 25-year-old Diana Obacho. And each one of these cases followed a chillingly similar, awful pattern.
Their method was just terrifyingly methodical. First, they'd find homes where women were by themselves. Then, they'd use some kind of trick or just brute force to get inside. They'd rob, assault, and then murder their victims. In the final step, they'd set the house on fire, trying to burn away any and all evidence of what they'd done. But here's the thing, that horrific spree in June, that wasn't the beginning. Police soon discovered their reign of terror had actually started 6 months earlier, back in December 2021. That's when they murdered 21-year-old Beatrice Akieni, a house help who's just trying to save up money for college. And as investigators dug deeper and deeper, they uncovered a link to another terrible crime, and a twist that reveals just how unbelievably brazen these killers really were. 3 more victims, a mother, Judy Nyambiora, and her 2 little girls, Shadia and Rimzi. They were all murdered in a house fire set in Manyani, which happened to be the very same neighborhood where the killers lived and worked. Now, get this. I want you to listen to this quote from one of the gang members, Joseph Simu. He actually said this to news crews at the scene of the fire, where he was pretending to be a concerned neighbor who had helped fight the flames.
I mean, this is just stunning, isn't it? On one hand, you have Josfat playing the part of the concerned neighbor, giving interviews to the media, talking about this awful tragedy. And on the other hand, the hidden reality. Josfat, the killer, literally returning to the scene of the murders he had just committed. He was hiding in plain sight.
So you've got this gang destroying evidence, a killer blending in with the crowd. You have to wonder, how did this all come crashing down? Well, their entire operation collapsed because of one single fatal mistake. This was it. 6 months after murdering their first known victim, Beatrice Akieni, the mastermind Evans made a critical error. He took her stolen phone, popped his own SIM card in it, and turned it on. And in that single instant, detectives got an alert, and they knew exactly where he was. And look at how fast everything just imploded after that. On June 24th, Dana Opicho was murdered. Less than a week later, on June 30th, Evans turns on that phone and is arrested the very same day. By July 16th, the final member of the gang was in custody. The whole thing fell apart in just a matter of weeks. So what was the final outcome? Well, For the mastermind, Evans, he struck a plea deal to become a state witness. He received several sentences for his role in the murders, but they were set to be served concurrently. Now, what that means is he serves all the sentences at the same time, so the longest one, that 28 years, is what really determines his time in prison.
And what about the other 5 members of the crew? Well, as of now, the legal process for Julius, Kevin, Josaphat, Dennis, and Isaac is still making its way through the court system.
The arrests definitely brought a terrifying chapter to a close. But it leaves us with this really lingering, pretty deep question. See, this isn't just about 6 evil individuals. It's about the circumstances that allow this kind of sadistic violence to take root and grow, hidden right inside a community. What are those conditions? And more importantly, how can they be stopped?